Welcome into the Bombers Beat podcast. I don't really have. This is probably not going to be the greatest opening of all time. I'll admit that right now. But I don't have a run sheet today. I don't have an outline. I just want to have a chat because, as the day I'm recording this right now, it is 11:07 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, August 5th. This will be up on YouTube soon. And in your podcast feed soon. And for those of you that might not be listening the day of, this is the night after the New York Yankees blew yet another game. Bullpen blows another game, and they lose in extra innings to the Texas Rangers. And in just particularly brutal fashion. You're winning 5-4 heading into the ninth. You bring in your closer. There's a pinch hit opportunity for a guy that has had a pretty solid, major league career, but is having and just an absolutely atrocious season at the plate. And Jock Peterson, who comes in to pinch hit with 1 out in the ninth inning. And a hanging changeup he hits over the wall, forcing the Yankees into extra innings where they inexplicably, as they always seem to do, particularly when they're on the road, are completely unable to move runners over and score. Bottom of the 10th inning, you bring in trade acquisition Jake Bird. You strike out the first batter. You ground out the second batter, and you just need one more out. You make a decision that you're going to intentionally walk Wyatt Langford to pitch to Josh Young, and he proceeds to hit a 3-run home run to win the game. And the Yankees have now lost all 4 games in a row since the trade deadline. And a few of them, 2 of them in particular, this one and then the one on the first against the Marlins, a 13-12 game, in really particularly devastating fashion. And you have, in the meantime, you have been leapt in the wild card standings by the Boston Red Sox. You sit tied with the Mariners for that second/third spot in the wild card picture, and now after that loss, you are only a game and a half up on a playoff spot with the Texas Rangers, and then you still have the Guardians who are fighting despite all of their trades, gambling scandals, all that other stuff. 2.5 games back of the Yankees, and it's this team is in total disarray right now. And yeah, I know Aaron Judge is going to be activated here on Tuesday. It doesn't really make you feel super great about what's going on right now with this team at 60-53. And it's the constant bullpen blowups, even from the new guys. It is the constant base running mistakes. It is the constant boneheaded plays. Questionable bullpen decisions by Aaron Boone, questionable lineup decisions by Aaron Boone. I go back to what I said at the very beginning of the season when I mentioned that I thought this was a low 90s win team. That would be in wild card contention, and we were outpacing that considerably to start the season. And then they came back down to earth. Now they're on an 86 win pace. And I don't think 86 wins is going to... Well, maybe it could. You don't love the bottom of the American League wildcard picture, but I don't think 86 wins is going to do it, which is what the current pace is right now if you look at the standings. Now, I do feel good about saying that the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Mariners will find a way into the postseason. The question is going to be, can the Yankees hold off Texas, Cleveland? And maybe they can, maybe they can't. And I don't know how you even bother to feel about that at this point. And then whether or not you even, I don't know, man, like whether even you want to care. And whether or not they'll even get into the wild card picture now, putting themselves in a situation, where they're going to have to fight just to really just get into to even have a shot. Now, I know there's a lot of discourse in the Yankees fandom right now about what should Yankees fans want. Should this be a complete devastation of a season at this point? Should you be rooting for the Yankees just to completely bottom out? And hopefully that institutes the managerial and potentially front office changes that people have been clamoring for? Or should you continue to root for the Yankees? Should you continue to root for wins, I should say, in the hopes that just get in, you never know what can happen? And I think that's still where I stand, is the latter, because, and I know this is a season a lot of Yankees wanted to forget because they only won 82 games, but if you go back to the 2023 season, you saw really a interesting development, and I think you're seeing it more and more with teams that are just kind of getting in. But you saw two wild card teams. You saw a 6 seed, 84 win Arizona Diamondbacks team go to the World Series, and they played against. I'm trying to see where against a 5 seed, 90 win Texas Rangers team. So, two wild card teams, 5 seed and 6 seed, met in the World Series. Could that happen again? Sure. Getting hot at the right time is huge. And given the expanded playoff system, there's always going to be a shot that even though you have to play extra games and some road games and whatnot, that you can get hot at the right time. Your pitching can get hot and you can go on a run. And quite frankly, I don't think the American League is that formidable relative to, I think, the National League, where I look at some of those teams, and yeah, you can look at the records and say that, but like I look at what the National League gauntlet, really for all 6 teams that are likely to make it. And with all due respect to Cincinnati Reds, I don't think they're quite gonna make the cut. But those can all be world beaters in any given moment. I like. Obviously, the Tigers, Blue Jays, Astros, and now the Red Sox are hot. Have all had really good seasons, 62 to 66 wins right now. But I don't think from a pure is this team elite standpoint that there is an elite team in the American League. Doesn't mean they can't get hot and do that, and doesn't mean there aren't aces like Tariq Schoolboy, Hunter Brown, Garrett Crochet that put you in a really tough spot to win short series. However, are the Yankees good enough to beat those teams right now? I don't know. They sure don't look like it. And they just sent one of their trade deadline acquisitions to AAA, and they're sending another one to the IL. Jake Burr's going to AAA, and I assume Austin Slater's going to go to the injured list as the roster move for Aaron Judge's activation. So it is doom and gloom around the Yankees right now, and quite frankly, I think it's deservedly so. This is a team that is just not playing good baseball in many aspects, where it's getting tough to watch. It's getting tough to sit in front of your TV for 2.5, 3 hours every single night and watch this team where you never feel like there's no lead that's safe. There's no scenario that's safe. They're not particularly even really a fun watch a lot of the times. And so I say this to say that, like, if you are at this point checked out and are saying whatever it takes to get a managerial change is what you're rooting for, I understand. And I do think that while not all of this can be blamed on Aaron Boone, there's a lot of nuance and complications to this thing. I have come around in the last couple months to thinking that sometimes you just need a different voice. Sometimes you need a change. And I don't think Aaron Boone has done enough as a manager to the point where you say he is so good and so valuable that we can't make a move to change the voice in the room when we desperately need it. This is not a Hall of Fame bound manager that is having a tough season And you're like, well, are we really gonna, mess it up for this? I do think that they need to make a change, but I also think that there are a couple different elements that we have to be realistic about. One of them being that a lot of what Aaron Boone has done is what Brian Cashman wants, and I don't think Brian Cashman's going anywhere. Even if they miss the playoffs, I don't think Brian Cashman's going anywhere. So it's going to be another Brian Cashman hire. The question is going to be, can they have somebody that will maybe not be so player friendly? And what I mean by that is, do they have somebody that they can bring in that can carry the cachet of holding down a room for the younger guys? And I say younger guys, I mean guys even in their upper 20s. I'm talking about pretty much everybody that's not Judge and Stanton and Cole, who kind of, that trio is the veteran, nucleus of that room. But you have young guys that are just doing what they're doing. You have young guys that are being coddled when they maybe need some tough love, or at least try some tough love. You have mistakes. You have mental errors. The fundamentals are bad. And look, the fundamentals are bad across Major League Baseball, and there is a, pardon the pun, a fundamental issue with fundamentals in the minor leagues right now, where because of the emphasis on offense and the emphasis on being an elite bat, that element of players' games gets hyper-focused on, and understandably so, but it does so at the detriment of everything else. And we're starting to see that, but there's also guys that have been in the majors long enough where they need to be making these plays. Volpe's not a rookie. Jazz isn't a rookie. Austin Wells isn't a rookie. There are these things that are just like, you've played the majors long enough now, you got to get this figured out. And there is a question when it happens over and over and over and over again, whether or not the message is getting through. And you can partially blame that on Boone, and you can also partially say maybe they need a different voice to spark the players. So we shall see what they end up doing. And I want to know in the comments below, or if you hit me up at the Bombers Beat Podcast on social media, what you think Yankees fans should do going forward. What do you do over these final, 7 weeks of the season? Is the goal just whatever it takes to get a new regime for 2026? Or is it, hey, you still never know, you still can get hot like they did earlier in the season. You don't want to leave any potential chance on the table. You don't want to throw any year away totally. Keep pushing for a wild card spot and hope they get hot. Kind of think I want to do the latter, but I definitely don't blame you if you want to do the former.